Why do I like helping? Because I do not see it as something optional. I do not see it as an act of kindness that elevates me. I see it as a duty, an inescapable, sacred responsibility that binds us to one another as human beings. We are not placed here to walk alone, and no person was ever meant to carry the full weight of life in isolation. Helping is not what I do when I feel generous. It is what I do because I am human, and that, above all, obliges me to act. There is a temptation in times of comfort to believe that helping others is an act of charity, that it is something we do when we have extra time, extra money, or extra patience. But that view, however widely accepted, is shallow. It misunderstands the very soul of our shared existence. Helping is not a gift we give, it is a debt we owe. It is part of the silent agreement we sign at birth, that while we walk this earth, we will not ignore the suffering of those around us. That if someone falls beside us, we will not step over them. We will stop, lift them, and walk together. I have seen too many lives broken by the belief that only the strong matter, that only the powerful are worthy of attention. But the strength of a person is not measured by how high they climb. It is measured by how many hands they reach for on their way up. Some of us rise because of where we were born, because of the paths others cleared before us, or because of luck we did not earn. Helping is how we restore balance to that unfairness. It is how we level the ground, not by pulling others down, but by pulling them up beside us. I have never believed that dignity belongs only to the fortunate. Dignity is the right of every soul that draws breath. When we help, we recognize that right. We say to the tired mother who has nothing left to give, "You matter." We say to the young man lost to anger and confusion, "You are seen." We say to the forgotten, "You are not forgotten by me." These are not small gestures. They are the foundation of peace, and they are the seeds of justice. Some ask, but what if my help is not enough? I say, help anyway. Do not let the scale of the problem silence your hand. A drop of water still softens the earth. A single flame still lights the dark. Our world does not need a few heroes who help in grand gestures. It needs millions who help in small, steady ways. A word of encouragement, a shared meal, a moment of listening. These are not beneath us. They are the very work of the brave. And yes, helping can be hard. It can be uncomfortable. It may ask us to step outside our routines, to inconvenience ourselves, to confront pain we would rather not see. But comfort is not what defines a life well lived. It is courage. It is the willingness to carry burdens that are not our own, because we believe in something greater than self-interest. Helping is not always easy, but it is always right. When I help someone, I do not see them as beneath me. I do not see them as broken. I see them as a mirror of myself, someone who in another life, in another moment, could have been me. And if I were in their place, I would pray that someone would reach for me, not out of pity, but out of principle. That is what helping is, principle in motion. In the end, helping is not about feeling good. It is about doing good. And in a world so often driven by greed, division, and fear, to help is an act of quiet rebellion. It is a way of saying, no matter what the world teaches me, I will not close my heart. And if we all kept our hearts open, just a little more each day, there is no telling how much suffering we could ease, how much hate we could dissolve, how many lives we could change. So I help, not because I am better, but because I am bound. Bound to you, bound to them, bound to the simple truth that if one of us is in chains, none of us is truly free. That is why I like helping. There is something powerful that happens when we choose to help someone, not just because they asked or because it is polite, but because we recognize deep in our bones that we are not strangers walking separate roads. We are part of the same journey, and it is in that moment of reaching out, of offering a hand or a word or simply our presence, that something greater takes shape. When we help, we do not just support a person. We build a bridge between hearts, between lives, between stories that would otherwise pass each other in silence. We live in a world that teaches us to build walls, walls of fear, walls of suspicion, walls of difference. These walls are built from the bricks of misunderstanding and the mortar of pride. They tell us, stay apart. Protect your own. Trust only those who look like you, speak like you, believe what you believe. But I have seen with my own eyes how fragile those walls truly are. And I have seen how a single act of kindness, a single moment of helping, can break through them like sunlight breaking through a crack in a prison cell. Helping is the antidote to division. It is the quiet force that says, you and I are not so different. When we help someone, we begin to understand them. We begin to listen, not just with our ears, but with our hearts. And once you've truly listened to someone's pain, their hopes, their struggle, you can no longer dismiss them. You can no longer say they do not matter. Helping draws us together. It does what anger cannot do. It heals. I have known times when people chose not to help, not because they were cruel, but because they were afraid. Afraid of what they did not understand, afraid that helping meant losing something of themselves. But helping is not subtraction, it is multiplication. When I help you, I do not become smaller. We both become stronger. We both become richer in spirit. That is the truth many forget. Helping does not weaken the helper. It strengthens the bond between people, and that bond becomes a bridge, a way forward where once there was only a wall. We cannot talk about peace unless we are willing to help one another. We cannot speak of unity while turning our backs on the needs of others. You do not bring people together by shouting at them across a divide. You bring them together by crossing it. And you cross it by helping, not by judging, not by blaming, but by showing up, by asking, what do you need, and being ready to listen to the answer, even if it is uncomfortable. In every nation, every village, every corner of the world, the same truth holds. People want to be seen. They want to be heard, and when we help, we say, I see you, I hear you, you are not alone. That is how you turn strangers into neighbors and neighbors into friends. That is how you begin to undo the damage caused by years of silence and fear. Helping is not just about solving problems. Sometimes the problem cannot be solved in a day or even in a lifetime, but the act of helping, of standing with someone, has value beyond the outcome. It says, I will not leave you behind. And in a world where so many feel forgotten, that is no small thing. It is a lifeline. Do not let anyone convince you that helping is weakness. It takes strength to care. It takes courage to cross lines others have drawn. The strongest people I have known were not those who commanded armies or held titles. They were those who chose to help even when it cost them. They built bridges where others built barriers. And though their names may never be in history books, their impact lives on in every soul they touched. If we want a better world, we must begin with each other, not in grand speeches or grand buildings, but in the small, human choices we make every day. We must choose connection over comfort, compassion over convenience, and helping over hiding. We must build bridges not someday, but now, because it is through helping that we begin to mend what has been broken. It is through helping that we learn to walk together. And it is through helping that we remember we are one people bound not by borders, but by the bridges we build with our hands and our hearts. That is why I like helping. There is a strange truth I have come to learn in my life. When you help someone, you are not just giving them strength, you are discovering your own. Helping is not a one-way path. It flows in both directions. The one who receives help may rise to their feet, may find hope, may take their next breath with courage. But the one who gives help is changed too. They are stretched, they are awakened, they are humbled. In this world, we are often taught that strength is something you show by standing tall, by speaking loudly, by never needing anyone else. But that is not strength. That is pride dressed in steel. True strength is revealed when we allow ourselves to care, to be vulnerable, to carry burdens that are not ours because we know that someone must carry them. When I help another person, I am not asserting my power over them, I am sharing it. And in that sharing, I am made more human. Some believe that to help is to lower oneself, that to serve is somehow to step down. But what a limited view that is. The act of helping does not reduce you, it expands you. It forces you to see beyond the surface, beyond position or title, beyond what separates us. And once your eyes have opened to the struggles of others, you cannot unsee them. That awareness changes you. It deepens your soul. I have seen the weak become strong not through revenge, not through riches, but because someone helped them believe they could be more than their circumstances. A helping hand becomes a mirror. Suddenly, the person sees what they never thought was in them. And I have seen the strong become wiser, softer, more grounded, not because of praise or comfort, but because they dared to help someone else, and in doing so, confronted their own blind spots. That is the secret of helping. It humbles the helper and empowers the helped. Both are transformed. It is easy to look at someone in pain and believe they are lost. But often, people are not lost. They are just tired. Tired of fighting alone. Tired of being invisible. And when someone comes alongside them, not to fix them, but simply to walk with them, the fog begins to lift. That is the gift of helping. You restore dignity. You remind someone of their worth. You say without words, you matter. Your life is not too small to be seen. But I also speak to those who help, who give, who serve. I speak to you because I know it can be hard. There are days when your effort feels unseen, when your kindness is taken for weakness. You may wonder if it is worth it. You may grow tired of giving when so many take, but let me tell you this, every time you help, you plant a seed. And though you may never see it bloom, it will grow. Perhaps not in your sight, but in someone's life, in someone's heart, in the next generation. Helping is never wasted. It leaves a legacy that outlives us. I also know that helping often demands that we face uncomfortable truths, not just about the world, but about ourselves. It makes us ask, why do I have when others go without? Why do I walk free when others live in chains, seen or unseen? Helping holds up a mirror to our comfort, but that is good. We need that mirror. We need to see ourselves clearly if we are to grow. We do not help because we are perfect. We help because we are willing to share what we have, even when it is not much. Willing to reach across fear, across doubt, across the silence that so often keeps us apart. In that willingness, there is great strength. Strength that does not boast. strength that does not dominate, but strength that lifts. I have always believed that the true test of character is not how high you climb, but how many you bring with you. If your success isolates you, it is not success. It is escape. But if your success becomes a platform from which others rise, then you have truly lived. That is the beauty of helping. It multiplies. One act can ripple outward in ways you may never see. A child fed today becomes a teacher tomorrow. A prisoner given hope becomes a peacemaker. A single moment of care becomes a chain of kindness that stretches far beyond your reach. In the end, helping is not about being strong or weak. It is about being human, and in our shared humanity, we find something greater than all our differences. We find the power to lift one another, not because we must, but because we choose to. And in that choice, we all grow. That is why I like helping. There are many ways to be remembered in this world. Some chase glory through wealth, others through power, and some through the noise they make along the way. But there is a quieter legacy, a more enduring one, the legacy of those who chose to help. Not because they sought recognition, not because they stood in the spotlight, but because they knew that to help is to be human, and to be human is to care for others, even when no one is watching. I have always believed that true courage does not shout. It does not carry a weapon or wear a crown. True courage moves silently with compassion. It walks into the homes of the broken. It kneels beside the wounded. It listens to the forgotten. Helping is the work of the brave, because it demands that we see suffering and do not look away. It requires that we feel pain that is not our own and choose to do something about it. The world often praises those who climb to the top, who conquer, who command. But what it forgets, what it too often overlooks, is that the real builders of society are not always the ones on the stage. They are the ones in the shadows holding others up. They are the teachers who stay after class, the healers who comfort the dying, the neighbors who share what little they have. They do not make headlines, but they make history. Their acts of helping form the very fabric of our shared humanity. When we help, we write our names into the hearts of others, not with ink, but with presence. A person may forget what you gave them. They may even forget your name, but they will not forget how you made them feel in their moment of need. They will not forget that someone cared when it mattered most. That kind of memory lives longer than stone. It is passed from one generation to the next, not in words, but in example. I have met people who have nothing by the world's standards, but who have given everything. A grandmother raising children not her own. A young man who feeds the hungry from his own table. A woman who speaks for the voiceless even when her own voice shakes. These people are not rich, not powerful, and often not celebrated, but they are courageous because helping demands sacrifice. And to choose to help day after day in the face of exhaustion, in the face of despair, that is the courage that changes the world. It is easy to give when it costs nothing, but when helping asks you to let go of your comfort, your time, your pride, that is where your legacy begins. That is where history remembers you, not for what you had, but for what you gave, not for how high you stood, but for how low you were willing to bend to lift another. Helping is not about being the savior. It is not about being the answer to every problem. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply to show up, to be there, to say, you are not alone in this. In a world that often moves too fast to notice, simply noticing someone can be a form of saving. And that small act, when done with sincerity, can echo far beyond your lifetime. We live in an age of noise and distraction. So much pulls us away from each other. So much tempts us to focus only on ourselves. But I have seen that the people who find peace in their hearts are not those who take the most. They are those who give, those who help, because when you help someone, you bring meaning to your own struggle. You turn your pain into purpose. You turn your journey into a path others can walk. Helping is how we leave behind more than words. It is how we build a world that can outlive us, because when you help, you plant a seed, and though you may never sit in its shade, someone will. A child you never met, a soul you never knew. They will rest under the shelter your kindness made possible. That is legacy, that is power, that is courage. In the end, we will not be remembered for how loudly we spoke or how far we traveled. We will be remembered for how we made people feel, for how often we stopped to help, for whether we chose to build up or to tear down. And those who help quietly, steadily, humbly, leave behind a light that does not fade. That is why I like helping.